This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview.
Hello and welcome to the Research Talks here on Stockbox with Alan Green. Alan, welcome back. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mark. I'm good. Good Easter break, and here we are, raring to go again for the quarter two. Well, the next part of quarter two, I guess. But certainly good to see some decent Easter weather or Easter holiday weather, and raring to go.
Raring to go. Good. Yes, it's the start of quarter two. Well, let's see what quarter two brings. If it's any better than quarter one. It might be starting to pick up, who knows, but today we're going to be talking about a couple of companies, Mila Resources and Ecr Minerals, of course. We've been waiting the appointment of the new CEO, which has now happened, so looking forward to hearing the latest from Ecr. Do you want to start us off with Mila?
Yes, let's start with Mila. This is both companies, of course, focused on Australia, and Mila Resources is a really interesting company and a really interesting find, actually. Just looking into the detail of the company and the background of the directors, this bodes really well, I think, for the future. And I think they haven't stumbled across something, but I think they've got quite a gold find down in at the Kathleen Valley asset in Western Australia, and certainly Kathleen Valley it's in a gold producing area which is proximal to the Wiluna mining mine just to the north of the assets, and also BHP Billiton's Mount Keith nickel mine is about 20 kilometres to the north also, and it's quite close to Kalgoorlie, which of course is where all the assay results are being processed at the moment. So if you imagine Perth being on the sort of southwesterly tip of Australia, Kalgoorlie is just probably about 200 to 300 kilometres inland from there, and the Mount or the Kathleen Valley project that Mila Resources are engaged with is just above that. So Mila basically refunded or raised some. They raised a 3.5 million sterling last year. This is in November last year, to finance the acquisition of a 30% stake in the Kathleen Valley Gold Project. Now this is in a gold producing region. I've already sort of outlined this Wiluna Mining and BHP, but literally anyone is here. The area has known gold discoveries. There is also an extensive local mining infrastructure, which includes highways and electrical grids. So strategically, Mila have worked this really well because they don't really need to get engaged with huge amount of capex to develop a mining processing plant, because there are mining processing plants within trucking distance that will enable them to process the gold and process the ore. And of course, they can do this through joint ventures or similar arrangements. So the company initially acquired a 30% interest, and it's got the options to acquire further interests, and indeed we'll get to that shortly. But if you look at the Mila share price, the company is currently trading at 4.75p. Came to market, as I say, or was restructured in November last year, and has really been bumping along the bottom. Yeah, consistent with other gold explorers and producers, and then of course really took off at the end of February, and we'll go through the various announcements that trigger those rises shortly, before climbing to the highs that we're seeing at the moment on the back of some exceptionally strong finds. At the helm of Mila, we have Mark Stevenson, who's a director. The director, he's 30 years experience in the city, working for various investment banks, well-known investment banks, and has a track record of bringing projects to fruition. Lee Daniels is the Australian connection. He's also works in the city. He's on the board of an oil and gas exploration and production company, 20 years experience. Neil Hutchinson, the Chief Technology Officer, 30 years experience. He worked previously for Jubilee Mines on the Cosmos Nickel project and was instrumental in the group in the takeover by Strata of Jubilee Mines in 2007. He's also a non-executive Keras Minerals, ASX listed, and Australia Resources gold company, also in Western Australia. So he's very much he's the experience on the ground that is the connection that helps helping to develop the assets, the Kathleen Valley asset. Then we have Lindsay Mayer, who's the non-exec director. So back to the license. Then the actual area itself covers about 7.5 square kilometres. It's obviously north of Kalgoorlie, also just about 30 kilometres north of the town of Leinster. What the company bought was an initial JORC inferred resource of 21,000 ounces of gold, which the company used the terminology tip of the iceberg in a number of announcements, and we'll see why as we go forward. The asset, the Kathleen Valley asset, is proximal to the Bellevue gold project, which is the high-grade gold project with similar geological characteristics, the Bellevue Gold project reflects similar mineralization anomalies along what's referred to as the Mount Good basalt sequence. Obviously, I've already mentioned Willow Mining and BHP, but this is a highly fertile area for gold exploration and production. There's also the Kathleen Valley Gold Project north of the where Mila are currently drilling. Previously produced 66,000 ounces of gold in 2015. So this really provides a very strong argument for why the company was able to raise the money, and obviously the exploration work that they've undertaken. So I'm going to take through now each announcement that the company's made from February the 7th onwards, which is when things really started to happen. The company said in February, in an operational update, they had 30,500 meters of drilling planned. The electromagnetic surveys that the company had undertaken up to that point had defined what's referred to as a JET, which is a JORC exploration target of between 145,000 and 280,000 ounces of gold. But also through the exploration work, there's also strong levels of silver, copper, and other metals too. So the company said it was going to be building on the initial 11,000 meter drill program, which had returned 11 exceptional results, including a 10 meter section with multiple gold levels return, including at roughly 10 grams per ton, and silver grades. And this is in a target area referred to now as Coffee, and this has emerged, as we'll see shortly, as the most prolific target the group's identified to date. In the February 7th update, the company said it would be undertaking some 2,000 meters of drilling at Sturrock, and also further drilling at Powell and one other area. On completion of the drilling, Mila would purchase a further 25% interest, taking, as outlined initially, taking its total interest in Kathleen Valley to up to 50%. Mark Stevenson, chief executive, said at that point, having only drilled 1,750 meters at that point, the drilling had identified consistent, exceptionally high grade mineralization, and given what they'd found, they'd be dedicating and focusing their efforts on the coffee assets, given that they'd already established an impressive maiden resource from just 12 holes. Neil Hutchinson, the chief executive, the chief technology officer, said that these are the best and most consistent results he'd seen in his 30-year career, and coffee was emerging already as a standout deposit. So this is where it gets really exciting. Obviously, we see a corresponding blip in the share price at that point. February 24th, first hole of Kathleen Valley intersected another 7.35 meters of sulfide mineralization. Mark Stevenson said that these results supported the belief that the initial resource was just the tip of the iceberg. 7 meters of mineralization is a fantastic result. Then on March the 1st, second holes intersected 9.5 meters wide mineralization, and this contained 2 meters of what the company referred to as Bellevue style quartz sulfide lodes from about just over 200 meters down. First time the Bellevue style mineralization had been confirmed at Coffee, and Neil Hutchinson said they hadn't confirmed copper or quartz veining before, but the sulfide pyritites identified are very similar to the gold bearing lodes at the Bellevue project. And I love this term. He said, every hole is a new glory box for our geologists, quote unquote. I think it's fantastic. Now, all of these core assets all of these core samples have been sent to Kalgoorlie for assay results. And of course, we know through other companies mining in Australia that assay results are lagging behind simply because of COVID and other factors depleting the workforce and resulting in a backlog. Nonetheless, these are in the pipeline. March the 31st, the company announced interim results for the year, which really just contain what we already know in terms of financials. A larger loss than previously due to the issue of warrants and options, and then really the big driver, which has really propelled the stock to its new highs. The company said that the coffee asset mineralization zone had been extended. Stage 1 of the maiden diamond drill program had been completed, and what they were seeing was a planar and consistent zone, which shows potential for multiple loads at depth. Mark Stevenson said coffee's got all the hallmarks of a significant gold find. Neil Hutchinson said that the drilling, so the core, as it comes out of the ground, are visually better than expected. The geologists are very excited every time something comes out of the ground, and the company and the team are waiting for these assay results to come back to confirm it. Once they confirm it, the sky really is the limit, because at current levels, even at 4.75p, the company is just trading on a 12.85 million market cap, and this is with ownership of 50% of the asset now. So that's with if the inferred resource there is established at 21,000, they're aiming for a jet, as I say, JORC exploration target of 145 to 280,000. If the assay results bear out what they've already found and what the geologists are seeing visually coming out of the ground there, then that results, we could be very much at the top end of expectations. Who knows? Mineralization zone extended, it could well be bigger than that. So they've stumbled across something very significant here. And of course, we all see what happens to small cap companies when these big discoveries are made. Greatland Gold is obviously the benchmark case. We saw what happened when Havieron materialized into a huge gold assets. They teamed up with Newcrest Mining. And the share price, of course, literally went skyrocketed and went to the company valuation at one point up to $1.5 billion. So that's what's so exciting. That's why we're involved in this game as investors, because you get a chance to invest into a little company like Mila Resources with a 12.8 million market cap, and it's looking very good. That's all we can say. Once the assay results come back and confirm that, and the drilling continues, then it's I think Mila are set for a very exciting year indeed.
Excellent. Okay. And are they still looking for that resource then, Alan, or is it about building on what they've already got?
Well, I think it's building on what they've already got. That I think is the great thing about Mila. You know that they've already got that inferred JORC resource there. So that's a great starting point. Also, they're in an area where there are many gold mines operating. It's a prolific area for discoveries, and at Coffee they've seen this quartz sulfide lode, which reflects the mineralization seen at the Bellevue Gold Project, which is a high-grade gold resource. So excited now. So when these assay results come back, if those grades are officially confirmed, then you're looking, of course, then at confirming that JORC exploration target. Maybe the resource comes in at 280,000 ounces of gold. Could be higher, could be lower, but that's where we're at right now. So we've seen an increase in the share price, but I think in the to coin a phrase, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us that update. So the rest of the year about getting those assay results in and proving it up, really. Excellent. Okay.
That's the great thing. It's very much a binary play in that regard, and I think if the stuff coming out of the ground was mixed, then there might be. It would be. It's obviously right to be cautious anyway, but to date, every drill hole that's gone to the ground. As the company said on April 20th, the mineralization is being extended. So far, we've seen a 100% success rate. So, in other words, drill goes into the ground, and the drill got the grades that are coming out are visually far better than expected. So, if they're visually far better than expected, that does imply that. Obviously, you've got a team of experienced geologists on the ground, very excited about this. So, if the assay results bear that out, then yeah, we could be in. Shareholders could be in for a very exciting time indeed.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Alan. So, moving on to Ecr Minerals. Of course, we have spoken about Ecr Minerals a number of times on the Research Talks podcast, but it has all been waiting, haven't we, for the new CEO, which has now happened. So what can you tell us about the new CEO and the company?
Okay, well, just to recap on ECR first of all. So ECR is currently trading at 1.45 pence, market cap just slightly higher than the Mila Resources at 14.7 million, and the company, it's a mineral exploration development company, and as it says on the website, it's a strategic objective to deliver the next multi-million ounce gold resource in Australia. So the two key projects, and these are ones that everyone knows, and we're hearing a lot about these names, are the Creswick and Bayliston gold projects. And starting with Creswick, Creswick is located just north of Ballarat, the town of Ballarat, and of course at Ballarat we have the Ballarat gold mine, which is a narrow vein gold mine, have been producing for many years. Also the East Ballarat gold mine, 18 kilometres to the south of the area as well. There is a geological anomaly which reflects the potential for alluvial gold called the Dimmock's Main Shale that runs all the way through Creswick down towards Ballarat. Earlier on this year, ECR confirmed that it had been awarded another exploration license covering the area between the north of Ballarat and the existing licensed territories at Creswick. And the company are going to get feet on the ground into that new area in the next few months. So we're going to find out and get some initial feedback from that. But this new license area covers the Ballarat Eastern Arena Goldfield, which has a lot of, all across the area there are many historic mine workings. So it's renowned for gold production. You know, it was a prospector's haven. There has been for well over 100 years, and of course with modern mining techniques now, companies are going and discovering new gold resources within the area. As a result of that, landowners in the area obviously know, well, firstly, the cost of land in the area is rocketing on the back of that, and also existing landowners know that they're sitting on a pile of gold, metaphorically and literally. So they are charging mining companies premium rates and making it very difficult for a lot of companies to access the territories without getting a cut. So, of course, before we start talking about the board and CEOs, I'll just talk in general terms. But last year, the then chief executive Craig Brown and his team decided to make a number of strategic property purchases. The company had a very strong cash resource to be able to draw on following a fundraising earlier in the year. That fundraising took place at 2.2p, worth noting, and it invested some of that money into buying properties. One was the Brewing Lane Springmount property, which is in the middle of the existing Creswick license area, on which there are historic workings, and also some sampling across the area has indicated that that there's some very strong stuff very near to the surface. There's also of course the ability now ECR owns that land to be able to build a mine decline, to be able to store plant, to get the team onto the ground and drill at its own time and at its own pace. And indeed, this work has been undertaken. Of course, we've seen the team undertook drilling at Creswick earlier this year, and of course late last year, and we've seen Adam Jones, the head geologist, described as mineral chutes. So in keeping with the narrow vein mine at Ballarat, the geology they're seeing at Creswick is very similar, where you're drilling down and you're seeing smatterings of gold, and then all of a sudden the occasional mineral chute, which obviously is in keeping with the narrow vein mining technique. So that's Creswick. As I say, boots on the ground in the new territory later in the year, under which the Dimmicks Main Shale runs. So we'll have more news on that. And then of course in Baillieston. Now Baillieston's located to the east of the Fosterville gold mine, and the Fosterville gold mine, owned by Copeland Lake Gold, is one of the most successful gold mines in the world. Very low producing costs, consistently producing. I think the last half was some 600,000 ounces produced. And the head grades are very similar to what a lot of the prospecting companies are seeing when they drill down and look for gold in the area, because of course there are other companies operating around here too. So last week the company announced, I say last week, this is a few days ago in fact, the company announced it had discovered the highest grade gold intercept yet below historic reserve 3. Now in the Baillieston license area you have a number of prospects. There's the HR3, Historic Reserve 3, we have Blue Moon, we have Cherry Tree, and drilling will be progressing across these assets later in the year. But the campaign at HR3 identified a number of soil anomalies, and one soil anomaly in particular, Adam Jones identified this with the drill team under an area called the Hard Up Reef, and they put they put several holes down under it, and the company came back with a 2 meter section, a 0.2 meter section with a grade of 52.5 grams per ton, and that was 126 meters down under the Hard Up Reef. So very encouraging. We've seen some decent grades come out of Baillieston, but of course there's an area called the Maori Anticline, which is effectively a fold in the ground, and under which these pockets of mineralization can be identified. And of course, the drilling campaign the company's engaged in at the moment is seeking to identify that as it goes forward. So we have a lot of data. There's also a lot of historic assay data to come as well. And of course, we will be sort of hearing about, as with Mila Resources, the ECR have also experienced long delays with the assay results because, of course, the lockdowns in Melbourne and the surrounding area, which of course is Victoria, are well documented, and a lot of companies there are experiencing delays as a result of that. So we've also as with the Mila Resources drill team, the team drilling at Creswick and Bayliston have seen visible gold grades coming out with the core. So, of course, when that happens, the geologists get very excited. And certainly Adam Jones, when I interviewed him earlier this year, was enthused by what the team was seeing when the samples were coming out of the ground. So. I mentioned the properties acquisitions last year. The second property the company acquired was the Nagambie Rushworth Road, which covers the part of the Bayliston HR3, Blue Min and Cherry Tree area. And again, the company's got the potential on the ground there to be able to store equipment, build a mine, do whatever it likes without having to negotiate with local landowners. And this is absolutely key to ECR's ability to operate at its own pace, and also ultimately reduces costs. Shareholders may also remember, of course, last year the company acquired its first drill rig. It was named the Midas drill rig, and that's operating literally around the clock. There is a second drill rig on the way, which we'll be hearing about, no doubt, in the near future. Just important to look at ECR's other assets as well. A number of royalty assets. The company had, of course, the Avoca, Moormbool and Timor projects in Victoria, which is sold to Fosterville South. It received a half $500,000 from Fosterville for that, and it's going to receive up to $2 million in payments subject to future resource estimation or production from Fosterville. With Lux Exploration, another subsidiary, ECR's got 3 exploration licenses in the Lulworth region in North Queensland, Australia. Adam Jones has been monitoring this area for around 8 to 10 years, and is very excited by the potential there. It's located west of the historic Charters Towers gold mine, but there are a number of other gold producing mines in the area, and some initial groundwork will take place there this year. We then have a royalty deal with the SLM Gold project in Argentina, where ECR can potentially receive up to $2.7 million in aggregate across all its licenses, and of course a 25% stake in Cordillera Tiger Gold Resources, which is the owner of exploration license EP06 at the Dangley Gold project in the Philippines, and this has an inferred mineral resource estimate of 63,500 ounces of gold at 1.5 grams per ton. So again, there will be some developments there, no doubt, as the year progresses. So back to the board. Of course, I mentioned Craig Brown. Craig tragically died in October last year. It was a very difficult time for the company because, of course, with active drill teams on the ground, the company had to continue and progress the campaign regardless. And they did this. David Tang, Adam Jones, and Trevor Davenport formed a committee and continued to run the company, all the while seeking a new chief executive. And of course, anyone that knew Craig Brown, I knew him very well, knew that they were big boots to fill. I mean, Craig was a mercurial character and drove ECR very hard and was very active in communicating with investors. So the person to fill those shoes had to be the right sort of person. And the company announced, of course, last week they had appointed Andrew Haythorpe as the new chief executive. And Andrew is first and foremost a very experienced geologist. He's worked as a mining analyst previously, but more importantly, he's done the hard yards and is engaged with a number of mining companies. But historically, he developed a company called Crescent Gold, which is a TSX and ASX listed company, from a gold explorer worth some 8 million Aussie dollars into a gold producer worth $250 million. So he knows what he's looking for when he's looking for a mining company with gold assets. And the process of recruitment has taken a long time. And I know, there were many investors complaining on Twitter that, why didn't the company get on with it? Well, the company shortlisted a number of prospective appointments late last year, but of course those prospective appointments wanted to go through the assets that ECR had, and of course Andrew's conducted his own due diligence in that regard, and his appointment, I think, is a huge feather in the cap for the board, because he's an experienced geologist. He's run the slide rule over Creswick and Baillieston and the other assets that the company has, and obviously sees huge potential here. And I know I spoke to him last week. He's very excited about working with the company and taking the company forward. But the process, of course, at the moment, that announcement's just been made, so he's getting his feet under the desk and getting to grips with what his responsibilities will be. But I mentioned just now, many investors had become frustrated with ECR and were waiting for things to happen. Well, I think now Andrew's at the helm, we're going to see a lot of activity in the coming months. I should also mention as well, the company appointed Andrew Scott as non-exec director last year, and that's with a view, of course, to the media presence of the company. Listeners will know Andrew Scott, of course, has been the prolific anchorman for Proactive for many years, Proactive Investors, and he's also worked previously for Reuters and for Sky. So having him on the board, Andrew's based in New Zealand, having him on the board is a huge feather in the cap, I think, also for the team. So I think everything is in place now for ECR to really come of age in 2022, and certainly that the best ever intersect yet, which Andrew Haythorpe himself commented on in the announcement, I think bodes really well for ECR's potential to develop its key assets in the coming year.
Okay, so do you feel then, Alan, that this year is, now that things are lined up, ECR could really start to push on again?
Very much so. Yeah, I think of course Craig's death was tragic, and it left a huge void. And for someone to step into that void, that person's got to be the right person. They've got to be pragmatic and cautious, but have the experience. And I think the fact that Andrew, with his experience of developing and his successful track record in developing and bringing companies through, he will have run the slide rule over all of ECR's assets. Obviously, its financial position, the people on the board, the company as a whole, and he very much likes what he sees, and he's absolutely champing at the bit to get going and to get his feet on the ground and to progress the projects. But the projects continue to progress. I think that's the thing. It's that they're not just waiting for somebody to come in and pick it up and run with it. It's already up and running, and that, I think, is what attracted Andrew to the company. The fact that these drilling campaigns are progressing. There's a big backlog of assay results still to come through from Creswick and from Baillieston, and of course the company got these properties. I didn't mention, of course, they also have this another property at Sebastian, which is near to Bendigo, where the current operational hub is, and again they'll be using that for accommodation for staff in the area, and also I think there's potential for the companies to do some exploration work on that land on the land that they own there too, but nothing's been done there yet, so that's just something that may happen in the future. But the package combined, I think, is it makes ECR quite unique in that regard, because buying land in Victoria, the land values since they made the acquisitions have already increased dramatically. Adam Jones, the head geologist there, I've spoken to him on many occasions, and he bought a piece of land in the area which has climbed in value. So of course that will be reflected across ECR's 3 property assets in the area too.
And which projects then, Alan, do you think hold the most promise for ECR? You mentioned all the assay results to come. I mean, I guess that will start to shed more evidence on perhaps which ones do hold the more promise. But what do you think holds the most promise then? What could be that kind of transformational, potential transformational project for the company?
Well, I think either Bayliston or Creswick, where so much drilling work has been done at both those projects. But with Bayliston, of course, that they're understanding the fault on the land there. An awful lot of drilling's been done. We had that result come out last week, and they're getting all of the drilling work. If you look at the actual drill plan, the drills are undertaken at different angles just to understand the lie of the land. Some of that work's been done at Creswick as well, and that will no doubt pick up. But I think the immediate focus at the moment certainly is on Bayliston and HR3. But of course Andrew is a geologist. He's down there on the ground. So once that progresses, once we get some progress, he may well look at it and decide that they should prioritise Creswick. I don't know. That's the exciting thing. He's already done a lot of groundwork prior to his appointment, so I've no doubt we'll get some direction from him in the not too distant future. And again, just to mention as well, another asset the company has, of course, is in the east of Victoria, which is the Tambo. They were awarded an exploration license there early this year, so no doubt he'll be looking at the Tambo exploration license as well.
Okay. And these assay results that are coming in, Ellen, when are they expected? Is it any day now?
Yeah, it's imminent. I mean, that result came in last week, and of course, that high grade result was confirmed on the back of the assay results. And I know, speaking to Adam, the results are coming out just as quickly as the labs can release them. But with the COVID and with the lockdown, it's a bit of a stop-start process. But they are literally coming just as quickly as they can.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll be interviewing the new CEO at some point in the not too distant future. It'd be nice to get his take on what he thinks and the plans, and almost to not reset the page as such, but to kind of turn a fresh leaf and just set the scene as to where the company are and what's to come. But I'm sure we'll see that soon, Alan.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alan Green, for your time today. Have a pleasant rest of your weekend, and we'll speak again in a week's time.
Thank you, Mark. Speak next week.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.